80% of work done in the company is done by 20% of people. There's an absolute correlation between people who do a lot and think a lot. You know, that's why Rockefeller said, I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers. Like I started doing way more when I started thinking more, you know, and praying more.
I actually feel most productive in the gym on my phone. Is that a negative thing? It's probably down to perspective.
It's not a negative thing. I just think realistically the negative, if there is one, is that you need to, kind of like the sprinting thing we were talking about earlier, the more you work around the clock, the less effective you are. So just imagine for a second, you have to get work done in 2 hours versus you can get all the work done in a full day. You'll stretch the work out over a longer course of time versus if you just say like, hey, everything I need to get done within this 2 hours, you're gonna move with this urgency. And then you can choose to keep doing more 2-hour blocks. That's why there's this reel that used to go around and people would slam it. This guy who's like, I don't have a normal day. I have 3 days, 8 hours each.
Day is 6 a.m. to noon, and I'm not crazy. You're crazy for thinking it takes 24 hours, just like some dude in a cave did 300 years ago. My second day starts at noon and goes till 6 p.m. That's day 2. And then the next day is 6 p.m. to midnight. What I've done now is I have changed and manipulated time. I now get 21 days a week.
He had 3 8-hour days, 1 was sleep, and 2 were, you know, whatever they were. And if you think about it that way, he's like slamming stuff into 8 hours. But that's pretty much the principle. Like I try to do that every day. Like what do I need to get done? I have 2 hours to get it done. I fail at this all the time. It makes me work faster. And then when I'm here, I'm thinking like, this is where I turn my brain off. So I don't know. There's no wrong way or right way. You find a thing that works for you, but.
Like listen, when people who are more successful than you tell you something, they're probably right because you've experienced it. And but I know a weak point of mine is focus. So I know I'd be able to come up with better ideas if I just did the session and was thinking. Yeah. But I don't give myself thinking time. And
this is something I've been telling you for years.
You've probably done for 2 years.
There's an absolute correlation between people who do a lot and think a lot. You know, that's why Rockefeller said, I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers.
You read that book?
No, I just know that line. Yeah. But all I know is like I started doing way more when I started thinking more, you know, and praying more. And so I don't know if you ever think of this about me, but when we had the D7 guys come, KJ, he does like 80K a month. Charlie Morgan's mastermind, he's been to different masterminds. He was like, out of all the guys that I've met, Charlie Morgan, etc., I'm the least stressed person. It seems like I'm the most relaxed, calm person. And I think that's just because I think a lot, I pray a lot, I go my yoke in Christ, or I take Christ's yoke. All to say, if I'm constantly on my phone and doing stuff, then I seem frantic. My head's probably frantic. I don't know. I like to think in my brain.
Let's talk about it more this evening, because I actually like, I know many young business owners probably struggle with being on their phone a lot. And especially if your business is social media related. I just find it hard to disconnect between different tasks. And it actually is a negative. And I know that. And I'd say that going into the next day a bit, if I want to make this change and I want to not be on my phone so much, but like, I feel like what I'm doing at that time is necessary. But if I ask myself the question, will my life be affected if this gets delayed an hour? It probably won't.
Well, that's not even the first question to ask. The first question to ask is, will it change for the negative if I don't do this? Before you even say, can I delay this right now? The first thing you have to ask is, can I just not do this? 90% of the things you're doing, you don't have to do, you know? Because the 80-20 rule, 80% of work done in the company is done by 20% of people. Of that 20%, there's actually studies that show of that 20% of the people doing the work, 28% of them are doing 80% of that work. So it actually goes down layers. It's the same thing with what you're doing. 20% of what you're doing is actually what makes your brand better, makes you more money, etc. 80% just worth this spend of time. And then if you even dive in deeper, it'll be the same 20-80 rule again.
It is.
And so it's not, can I wait an hour? It's, do I even have to do this? You know, I recognized this like 6 months ago, bro, when I started getting back into like new business owner mindset. But you feel like you have to pack your day out so that you feel productive. But in reality, there's sometimes points in business where you just can't do anything more productive. Like there's nothing more productive to do because you have things that's out of control that might be laggers, etc. Billionaires would probably tell me I'm wrong for this. Like Elon Musk would probably have a different way of saying it, but he's running at a higher level. When you only have so much leverage, sometimes your day is 2, 3, 4 hours long and that's done. Yeah. And then people are like, well, I need to keep working, so I'm just going to do all this pointless stuff to keep working.
Is it pointless if it can pay dividends in some way?
Well, you could say all work is profitable, because that's proverbial, but everything will pay dividends. It's like, is the dividend actually going to make a change? So I would just say this, man. The easiest way to start is literally just, this sounds crazy, but I'm the kind of guy that overcorrects to find the middle ground, right? So Elon Musk is the same way. When he makes an operation or an SIP, they trim it down to as little as possible, and then they add things back in until they find the right amount of simplicity versus what gets it done. So for me, I would say if you're struggling to get off your phone, literally don't spend an entire day or two on your phone, and then find out what breaks because you're not on your phone, and then put that stuff back in your life, and then everything else unneeded chaos, you know? The way I look at it, bro, is I think of my brain and my heart and my soul as a pot of water, and the more I'm on my phone, the more I'm looking at the screen, the more I'm doing things. It's like the water's simmering and then boiling. I feel like chaos, like that hecticness. And when I'm not on my phone, when I'm thinking and when I'm praying, it's almost like I feel like the living water Christ in me, just like cooling me down and like making my water still and silent and simple. Yeah. And so I've talked to you about this before. I definitely talked to John. James is like, he walks fast, he goes fast, he's on his phone, he's doing this. And if you hang out with me, like I work a lot, you know that, but I'm also very, I don't know, slow and relaxing. but I get a lot done.
Like, I guess like it's not necessarily a whole negative to be on this side of the spectrum and have to reverse it back, because there's benefits to it. Like for me, like with my stuff, obviously it's a lot of networking, it's a lot of connecting, so like I'm constantly like making a group chat or updating a group chat or whatever it is, and that actually comes from a selfless place, because man, I always put other people first, and I think to a degree you need to put yourself first, because I need to look after my own energy, because I always generally, because I need to look after my own energy, because I find it like it affects many relationships in my life if I'm constantly on my phone or I'm constantly not focused. So a lot of people watching this can relate to that. You give your energy to others when you need to conserve it for yourself, and I don't think enough or keep myself enough energy in the end of the day, and there's a lot of chaos going on, so I need to relax my mind again. And that could start with going the whole day without the phone, or it could start with just like leaving the phone in the apartment when we're going to the gym, or just leaving it in places where when I'm not doing actual work.
I like the overcorrection. If it's me, I'm dropping my phone for an entire day and then seeing what drops and seeing what doesn't.
What do I do for the day?
Work on your computer.
Oh, you mean, okay, I don't even know electronics.
No, if you have to work on your computer, it changes how you work. Iman's a huge advocate of this too until he started doing more portfolio stuff. But it changes how you work because you know you have to get your work done at the computer. And so when you're going to the gym, when you're eating, when you're doing all these other things, you think to yourself, I'm not gonna be able to work, so I gotta get this done before I go to the gym at 2, you know? So you compact it. When you're working on a computer, for some reason, it's a lot easier to not get distracted. You're only doing things you need to do, it's more efficient, etc. But I would say no phone for an entire day or 2, just computer. See what drops because of that. And if it's an important thing that drops, then you know, okay, this is something I have to add to my list.
Question then for you, for the viewers watching this, because we can separate the viewers and people who are starting a business, the people who already have a business that's running. Would you say then the focus and the thinking leverage is only necessarily applicable to people after a certain point, or do you think it's all the time? Well, I know when I was starting with you guys, for example, I was an SDR, I'd be on my phone 24/7, and it was actually beneficial. But then to a degree, now at the point that I'm at with business, that same concept doesn't necessarily apply to where I'm at now, but it would have at the beginning.
Yeah, what you're saying is there's the logical side and then the Christian side. So I'll lay out the logical side, I'll lay out the Christian side and then the logical side. You're saying that you have to be on your phone for every second because God's not going to handle it on your behalf when you're hanging out with Him and praying with Him. So you're saying like God, I'm not trying to say it. Well, that's what
I'm not trying to say that.
But that's what the action says. If the action is I need to be on my phone so I can make money, the action of that is that I need to do all the work because God's not going to provide for me. So I have to provide on my end. Does that make sense? Doesn't matter if the work's there.
I know what you're saying. I was saying in a work skill set, logical point of view, like not.
That's I said Christian and logical. That's the Christian side. The logical side is if you're working all the time. Okay, let's say you're just an SDR in a company, less thinking involved on that. Maybe for that specific thing, less applicable, right? But if you're a business owner doing outreach, if you're a closer, trying to follow up, etc., taking the time to think about how to do it more effectively, it'll make your work more leveraged, and you'll get more done for the input versus the output. I mean, even with an SDR, you could say the same thing. It's just at that level of work, it's just so low leverage that it's hard to say thinking times when I really improve it. So, but
that's good sauce. How long is this recording?
10 minutes, 48 seconds.
10 minutes and 48 seconds to regain focus in 2025 is not for long.